What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me, but I just got home off of an early morning flight, right? First thing through the door, I want to see my family. I love my family. You know, I'm a family man. I'm an advocate for families, right? Second thing, I got to get that hot shower because I got to throw the threads on. The threads make me feel like $1,000,000, but the third thing through my mind and all throughout the trip is that I gotta have that Tej pack. Tej makes my life uncomplicated. It's uncomplicated skincare for men. The first way that I started specifically was their level 1 system. It's a daily face wash to get rid of the dirt and grime on your skin. 2 times per week exfoliating scrub to get rid of the dead skin cells. An AM moisturizer with SPF 20 because you should always be protecting your skin from the sun. And a PM moisturizer to help your skin stay hydrated and healthy throughout the night. Here's the thing. My favorite part about Tej Henley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. They really making the process of achieving and maintaining amazing skin for men uncomplicated. In addition to amazing skin, members of Tej Henley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off the retail price, the ability to customize your box, exclusive monthly deals, you can pause and cancel at any time, and you get free shipping. And because Tej Henley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers an amazing deal, right? Just click the first link in the description and you get 30% off your first box, plus a free gift. It's an amazing deal. You got to get started today. You're not out here trying to look like a Dusty. And if you travel as much as I do, which I'm sure most people don't, but you know me, I'm pushing my bag chasers in order to be in the top 5%, top 10%, top 1%. We got to make our lives uncomplicated, and Tej Henley is no better product. You got to look good. You got to smell good. And you can't be looking like a Dusty. Make sure you get started today. Click the link in the description. Get that Tej pack. Feel the Tej, my friends. What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. A very interesting morning, to say the least. Let me go ahead and brighten that up a little bit. I don't have my normal camera. I feel like I'm out here winging it, but certain things, certainly we don't miss. So shout out to everybody that's tuning in for the Millionaire Morning Show. It is Tuesday, April 25th, 2023, year of our Lord, and we just gonna thug it out. I ain't got my camera holder, so I'm just using a regular MacBook HD, supposedly HD 720p. I can't hide my discomfort. I can't. When everything is not working right, when everything is off, if I have to push the live stream back 5 minutes, that bothers me. It really does bother me. Shout out to Alvin S. Alvin S says, "Good morning, AD. I'm a B student, a baller on a budget, rocking Brooks Brothers." Y'all need to be rappers out here in these streets. Shout out to Alvin S. I appreciate you, big dog. Let me get the housekeeping out of the way. I'm dropping a video inside of the Patreon today for you guys, for y'all to be able to thug it out, because I always like to add as much value as I possibly can. So shout out to the Patreon members. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. In addition to that, I got a full show lined up for y'all today. We're going to address Tucker Carlson. We're going to address Don Lemon. Biden has announced his re-election bid. We're going to address homeowners, high-risk redistribution rules under Biden. In the midst of this whole debacle, I have some incredible shows lined up for y'all coming up this week. I wish I could announce it, but I really can't. If you are not a part of the Patreon, or if you are on the Patreon and you go into the Patreon meetup, not this weekend, but next weekend, make sure you tap into the Patreon so you can get the exact location of where it is that we're going to be. And we're going to get it popping. All right, so listen. Let's just get straight into the show. It seems like God plays a cruel joke on us sometimes. When I was in Vegas, and a lot of y'all that watch my video on my blog, it was one day specifically where everything just went absolutely perfect. I mean, it was so perfect to where I couldn't lose a bet on the table. I was so hot as far as everything going absolutely right. The streams went absolutely right. All of my employees was ahead of time and it was doing things perfectly. My contractor, as far as building my house, he had landed the thing. I wasn't even expecting a phone call. He was early on things. I was walking through and I wound up going to the table on my way to head to the bank. And I just stopped and I said, man, I feel like he about to throw a 12. And I put $200 on a 12 and he threw it right away. And that paid me $6,000 on a $200 bet, one time throw, 31 to 1 payout. So that paid me $6,000. I took $100, I gave it to the dealers, and then I took the other $5,900 and I went and we just had a good time. Like everything went perfect. Like I could not miss. It was almost like God was just handpicking my steps. And he was like, up, you can't miss on that. Up, you can't miss on that. Up, you can't miss on that. And then I jumped on my thing and I'm recording on my video or whatever like that. And I'm vlogging. I'm like, man, everything is so perfect. And literally within that same minute on my other phone, I got a phone call from one of my employees and everything had just went bad, right? Similarly, right? Everything went perfect yesterday. Everything was awesome or whatever. And it was like these hoes had walked in, right? And so I'm vlogging. And I gotta show y'all one of the videos. I'm vlogging or whatever, and these chicks came in and they kept trying to, they just had to show me their body. And they kept on showing the body, right? And they just kept on showing the body, right? And so they came over and they prancing by the table. And I don't know if this is just the culture in the Dominican Republic, but women are very, very forward. And obviously, I know what the culture is. I know y'all be paying to play over here, and I know all of y'all getting it in and everything like that. And then the minute that these chicks start walking past the table, it seemed like everything started messing up all the way into the point to today. And it's like, yo, I ain't got my holder. And some of this is small stuff, and some of it can be a little bit bigger, and that I don't want to talk about it in detail and stuff like that. But it's just like everything started messing up, and maybe I shouldn't even have looked. Maybe I shouldn't have paid attention. And so really like, Anton, they trying to get your attention. They trying to get your attention. And so, I don't know. A lot of y'all say that the quality looked fine and all of that, but it's not to my standards. It's not what I want it to be. It's not how I see things. And shout out to my team. Shout out to my people. Shout out to everybody that work with me, all of my partners and stuff like that. Because I understand that sometimes y'all got to deal with the bear. And I try as hard as I possibly can to not let anything that's going on from a business perspective affect what it is that's going on with everybody else. But sometimes y'all see me a little bit disappointed. And so my father has always taught me, and the thing that has carried me to allow me to be successful regardless of what's going on in my life, especially as it relates to other people that is affected by the decisions that you make on a regular basis, is life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you react to it. 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you react to it. And so I've trained myself, even if it's internally the disappointment that I may experience as a result of whatever it is that's happening that's beyond my control. I've trained myself to control the outcome regardless of what's happening all around me. I don't care if the whole world is falling apart. I don't care if everybody is complaining. I don't care if everybody is broke. I know that based off of my decision-making ability, that it's going to be a payout at the end of the day because I am going to make the right decision that ultimately results in the best thing for everybody at hand. When that situation happened in Vegas in which a contractor called me or whatever, I didn't trip. Like, it was something. I literally stopped. Me and Rita were inside of the Cosmopolitan, and we were eating inside of this restaurant or whatever, and I stopped and I took a walk. It took me between 5 and 10 minutes. I took a walk. I just kind of chilled. I didn't spaz out. I didn't trip. I didn't do any of that. I took a walk. I cooled down. I thought about all of the different options. I made the adjustment. And then we got the deal done later on the next day. Everything went, it cost me an extra couple $100. I didn't even trip. I had won $6,000 at the table just earlier that day, right? Same thing, right? Oh, okay. You know what? I don't have the holder. I don't have this. A couple little things went on last night in which my internet was messed up during the time that I was supposed to be on a Zoom call with somebody that was important, and it went out. And so we just made the adjustment and we got up an hour earlier today and we knocked that junk out, right? What I'm telling you guys is that sometimes we make mountains out of molehills and we make things bigger than it really is. And I remember earlier in my life, those type of things would affect me and they would turn into really, really big decisions. But when you think about relationships, when you think about the reason that people really get into arguments, if you narrow it down, if you have a conversation with them, because I have a lot of conversations with couples, right? It really isn't the big thing that knocks it over the edge. It's something smaller that's festering that then turned into something bigger that then made you start to really hate the person that you was laying next to every day. And now you're trying to find every little flaw or every little thing that they say to you is going to jump you off the edge. But in reality, it's something that you're controlling that you decided to get emotional about that's then driving the decisions that you're making on a regular basis. Next thing you know, you cheating. Now you're bringing in diseases into the crib. When all you had to do was just have a little quick conversation, maybe even calm yourself down and not have a conversation and control the narrative. Sometimes I see people around me and it'll be somebody that's working for me, right? And maybe they a little bit off on their job, or when they've been doing things great for a long period of time, and then they may be going through a lull of a week or 2 weeks, or they just been out of it for a month. And sometimes I just have a conversation like, what's going on, fam? Listen, I know that you might be going through something, but let me know if you need anything, because I want to make sure you're good, and I don't want you to mess up everything that you got going on simply because this little small situation is messing with you. And I just had that conversation with them because they human and they make mistakes too. Sometimes my chick, she might get a little antsy and she might, like, you know what I'm saying? Something might be bothering him. It could be, my daughter, and my daughter is waking up late, or a teacher says something, and my daughter got a B plus instead of an A, and so my wife might be a little bit antsy, or she could just be missing me, for example, and I'm out for a long time. I might be traveling, or I might be at the office for extended periods of time, and she don't see me except at night for 2 and 3 days straight or something like that. And I don't necessarily have to go off on her and say, hey, I'm working, or all of this other type of stuff. I know, right? I know what I'm doing. I know what the circumstance is. I know that I've created an environment in which she's used to being up under me all the time. And so if I got to go and travel without her and she stays home because she got to make sure that she does something for Leslie and get her back and forth or whatever like that, I get it, right? And so I don't always have to react based off of the circumstances. Sometimes I control the narrative by then bringing her close to me and say, hey, listen, I got to go and take care of this business, but it just give us a little bit of time to miss each other. We so used to being around each other that when we finally separate for a little bit in order to go and take care of the stuff that we supposed to take care of in regular life, regular people ain't usually up under each other this much. Come here, come sit on my lap, and then I might just give her a hug and chill with her or whatever. I don't have to react the same way that everybody else reacts. I'm reacting based off of how I can get to the results and make sure that I keep things in a space that I want to keep it, instead of just entirely doing it based off of what I should do or what I could do or if it's fair or not. I'm not focused on if it's fair or not. I'm focused on controlling the outcome. I'm not focused on whether or not things are right or wrong, or if they did something, or if this happened to me, or this shouldn't have happened, or it's not fair that I was born over here, or I don't care about that. The only thing I care about is the outcome, right? Complaints go up, they don't go down. I don't sit here and whine and complain to other people. I sit there and I make sure that I enable everybody else, and I give them the tools that they need in order to be successful. And that's the sign of true leadership, right? Leadership isn't about, if you see somebody, whether it's a man, a woman, anybody in a position of power, a parent, and they sit there and they complain about their circumstances, and they sit there and they whine about whether it's fair or not. Anybody that I see and they complain about fairness, not addressing, not holding accountable, but complaining about fairness, I know that they're not built to be a leader. You're not built to be the leader of your household. You're not built to be the leader of a company. Everybody not built to be the boss. Everybody doesn't understand servant leadership. Everybody doesn't understand getting into the mire with the people that's on the ground running, right? Everybody don't understand that it's not their responsibility in order for you to put them in a position to win, because they are the ones that's depending on you in order to be successful for themselves. Anybody that's complaining about fairness, you should not have a wife. You should not have kids. You should not be having people work for you. You need to learn how to follow before you can learn anything with regard to leadership. Everybody is not born to be a leader. Some people, most people, anybody that's ever been in a position of power learned how to follow first. They learned how to get it out the mud. They somehow, some way was put in a position to where they can understand it from everybody else's perspective. That way they can feed into who it is that they're talking to or who it is that they're supposed to be leading. There's no way that you can sit here and tell me that you're a leader, but you complaining about your circumstances, or you leading your people off a cliff because you basing everything off of your emotions. Let it go. Let it go. Take it into consideration. Learn how to deal with it on a more personal basis to where it doesn't affect everybody else around you, and then move accordingly. You make the adjustment, because the only thing that we supposed to be focusing on is the outcome. All right. So let me go ahead and read some of these super chats, and we're gonna get started with the show, because I got a full show for y'all today. Elliot Jackson says, morning bag chasers, getting my real estate license to start getting paid on the deals I'm already buying. So a lot of people don't know about them 3 and 6% real estate fees that come along with the people that selling your properties. I don't sell any properties. All money in, no money out. Damian Flowers is in the building. Says you are appreciated. I was talking to Damian yesterday. Shout out to Damian Flowers. I appreciate you for the 20 ball, and thank you for holding me down. Elliot Jackson also says might lead to a monologue, but how do you determine whether you should pay everything off versus keeping a certain amount of manageable debt, say 50% loan to value, to make sure your money is working 24/7? I think that you should get rid of all of your money and pay everything off, because there's no reason for you to ever, in 98% of the circumstances, there's no reason for you to ever continue to pay unnecessary interest on things for regular people, not for super rich, not for billionaires. For regular people, there is no reason for you to ever pay interest on things that you have the cash to then remove. Why would I ever pay interest on mortgages when I got the cash to be able to get rid of the mortgage payments completely? I would never, right? If I have 17 properties and the rents is averaging $2,300 per property, and I'm making the equivalent of about $39,100 every single month, 100% cash flow. At what point do I need to start financing another property in order to make sure that I get the deal done? No. I just roll that money into the next property, or into the next piece of property that I'm buying, that I'm going to build a house on, or that I'm going to do turnkey. And I'm looking to get rid of the money in order to remove the tax burden that comes along with the profitability of the properties that I already own, right? And so I don't think that you should have manageable debt. I think that you should get rid of the debt altogether so you can continue to snowball. I actually got a video inside of the Patreon that I got. It's called the reverse snowball method that I use, and it shows you my mindset when it comes to investing in real estate. In the same way that people try to hold on to manageable debt, make sure y'all tap into that video. That link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Never try to manage debt. Try to get rid of debt. All right. The only way that rich people use debt differently than consumers use debt is that they're trying to remove the tax burden from having to take money out of their equities in order to continue to buy the things that they want to buy on a regular basis. If a rich person says, let's say Mark Zuckerberg, and you say, well, Mark Zuckerberg has a mortgage on that property, right? Mark Zuckerberg is a billionaire. He doesn't necessarily have to have a mortgage on that property. The reason that he has a mortgage on that property is because he doesn't want to remove the equity that he has in Facebook, right? In order to have to pay capital gains taxes so that he can then buy the property. So instead of paying the taxes in order to pull money out to then spend money, and he's being taxed at the highest rate, if he's buying a $50 million property, right? And let's remove the capital gains tax rates, right? Let's say he's buying a $50 million property. That means if you tax at the highest tax rate based off of your state and your federal taxes, and then everything else included, real estate fees and so on and so forth, that means, let's just say hypothetically for the sake of conversation, you got to pull $100 million out in order to pay taxes so you can have $50 million in order to buy that property. Instead, because they know that he's good for it and he has great relationships with the banks and he can back it up with his assets, because they know that, you know, he has a significant amount of assets. He take a very, very low interest rate because it is backed by something, right? He take a low interest rate in order to then buy that property. I feel like I got something on my shirt. What is this? He take a very low interest rate in order to buy that property, right? So that he can then remove the ability to have to pay taxes in order to be able to spend $50 million on that property. So he don't have to pay taxes. He get a very low interest rate. He takes out the loan. He keeps the money away from the IRS, and it's a legal way for him to be able to do it. So the way that rich people then utilize the tax code and remove themselves from being able to have to pay additional taxes in order to ensure that they don't have to give money over to the federal government, and then they have manageable debt, is much different than somebody going out and financing a car saying that I need the cash just in case something happened to me from an emergency situation. It's stupid. Get rid of the debt. Get rid of the debt. As a regular, everyday person and consumer, get rid of the debt. Do not sit there paying the banks. If you pull up your statement and it shows, because most of the people only have a bunch of debt and they say they own a bunch of properties. In reality, their real net worth is not a reflection of how much property that they own, right? What happens is, let's just say, for example, you own 10 properties, right? And those 10 properties equate to the equivalent of about $4 to $5 million. Your net worth is not $4 to $5 million. Your net worth is the equity that you have in those properties, right? So even though they may be paying rent, if something happens like what happened during the pandemic and then they got the rent moratorium and something like that, or you can't carry the costs because you using all of the money in order to make sure that your lifestyle is sustained, then you shit out of luck, right? And so what you want to do is you want to remove the debt, and most of the people do it because they don't have the cash to be able to pay off the property entirely. And so some people, then they have the properties that they own, that they rent out, and then they flip on top of it in order to maintain a lifestyle, to give themselves some wiggle room. And then sometimes once they get enough equity in a property and it appreciates over time, the more expensive properties, they sell those in order to pay off the smaller properties. And that's how they house hack. All right. So just giving y'all a little bit of insight of how we think and how we move inside of the Patreon. Because we give you the breakdown from a C student's perspective on exactly what these gurus say that they selling you, when in reality, they're not giving you the context of why you're supposed to do it a specific type of way to enable you to make better decisions for yourself. But instead, they just telling you that this is the way we do it and they're going to sell you the course. There's nothing wrong with a course, but you got to be a little bit more intentional with how you're moving, because just because they say that they own the properties doesn't mean that they cash flowing. It doesn't mean that they profitable. It doesn't mean that a downturn is not going to completely upend everything that they got going on. So you have to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people that add value into your life and giving you the context, and they're enabling you to be a boss eventually. But in order to be a boss, you got to learn how to be a good follower. All right. So let me just read one more super chat. Victor is in the building, says 3.5% down or 20% down. 20% down. Always 20% down. 20% down, preferably a 15-year over a 30. And if you can pay it off much faster than that, that would be even better. 20% down, all day, every day. Don't listen to anybody that's telling you to go with these FH. Don't listen to anybody that's telling you to put 3.5% down. If you can put 20% down, if you can pay cash, pay cash. But if you can put 20% down, put 20% down. All right. Let's get into the show, ladies and gentlemen. I got a full show lined up for y'all. So first and foremost, let's deal with the elephant. See this? I ain't got my camera right. It's covering me up. I'm definitely going to be moving. All right. Definitely going to be reading super chats throughout the show. But Tucker Carlson, news broke while we were live streaming yesterday about Tucker Carlson getting fired. So let me just bring y'all up to speed by playing this video, and then we're going to continue to have a conversation. Make sure you hit a like for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Let's get it rocking, y'all.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight.
Loved and reviled Tucker Carlson, massively influential, and for Fox News, a mega moneymaker. Not anymore.
We have some news from within our Fox family. Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have mutually agreed to part ways.
There were no other details, but it's just days since Fox News settled that giant lawsuit for spreading falsehoods the 2020 election was rigged, with evidence Carlson and others knew that was wrong.
So the sentiment is, right, and this is where the speculation is coming from, but obviously Fox News is not necessarily releasing any details, which was one of the reasons why I didn't do an emergency live stream yesterday. And I like to see, and I know I'm sacrificing views as a result of it, because a lot of times it's better to be first than it is to just give all of the accurate information or waiting for the news to come out. But I know that I'm sacrificing some views as a result of it, but I like to kind of get a little bit more deep and let some more details come out before I start to break it down. But there was a lawsuit that was brought forth that basically caused Fox to settle for a little bit less than $800 million. And it basically was alleging that different pundits was purposely spreading false information in order to influence voters, which included different people that were on Fox News, such as Tucker Carlson, all right? Reading super chats throughout the show. Thank y'all for contributing to the platform. Shout out to Mike That Dude with the Cash App. I appreciate you, big dog.
And that Carlson has told colleagues he hates Donald Trump, even while publicly friendly with him, recently asking him about his time in court this month.
You were there, I think, 57 minutes. Tell us from your perspective what that was like.
Well, it was a horrible thing.
But it's Carlson's commentary broadly that riles most. Critics call him a xenophobic, misogynistic spreader of conspiracy theories, including that the January 6th rioting was, in fact, quote, mostly peaceful chaos. Some reacted to his demise like this.
Word has just come down that Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways.
Now, let me ask y'all a question really quickly, all right? Let me ask y'all a question. If you look at all of these women that's on this panel and all of the women that's inside of the audience and stuff like that, cheering and all of this other type of stuff, what does that tell you? The majority of the people that are celebrating the departure of Tucker Carlson did not watch Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson was the most highly viewed person on Fox. The highest viewed media personality, and anything that he dropped, it didn't matter what they titled it, it didn't matter what. When he went on, whatever his rants were, Tucker Carlson was the highest rated media personality on Fox. That is a fact. Now, this is what we see, right? And even though I didn't necessarily agree with 100% of everything that Tucker Carlson said, because I have my own mind, and I don't agree with 100% of what anybody says, including my own mother or my own wife, I respected Tucker Carlson's ability to be able to deliver the news, give it from a different perspective, and then more importantly, be entertaining. Now, it all comes back to the money, and it all comes back to the numbers. Somebody in the chat said, why did Fox settle? Well, the same reason why a lot of guys take a plea bargain when they get arrested for something that they may or may not have done. They don't want to go to jail for the rest of their life. And Fox News, similarly, obviously didn't want to get possibly, regardless of whether or not they were right or wrong, they didn't want the possibility of, what's going on, Rita? They didn't want the possibility of, look at Rita bringing in my thing. They didn't want the possibility of getting a huge payout, billions of dollars, and so they decided to settle, which is why a lot of celebrities wind up getting sued in the first place. Celebrities get sued all the time, and it's going to cost them more in lawyers' fees and a possibility of losing as to why it is that they're going to wind up taking a settlement in the first place.
Still, Carlson's program was embraced by millions, not least, it seemed, near endless prominent Republicans. Say Carlson critics, he may now be gone, but the extreme right-wing programming at Fox News will continue.
I don't see any reason to believe that somebody else is just going to come in and fill the void that Tucker Carlson is leaving. And that's why it's so important to remain vigilant to these threats and not to think that because Tucker Carlson doesn't have his primetime slot anymore, that somehow things are going to get better.
We'll be back.
Where Carlson goes now is unclear. Last week, he signed off for the final time, apparently unaware.
And we'll be back on Monday. In the meantime, have the best weekend with the ones that you love.
You know, the interesting thing about it, though, is, and I'm going to get into Don Lemon shortly after this. The interesting thing about Tucker Carlson's firing, first of all, I think it all has to come back down to the money. It has to come back down to the money. Hold on, let me get my wife to get her phone. You might want to get your phone. It has to come back down to the money. And the reason it has to come back down to the money is because as much money as Tucker Carlson was generating for the network, I'm not sure he was generating $1 billion. And so basically what they're doing is that they're cleaning house in order to possibly maintain the company, hoping that Republicans or their core audience then continues to rock with them regardless of what was going on with regard to Tucker Carlson. Fox is hoping that their brand is bigger than Tucker Carlson. Now, Tucker Carlson, in my personal opinion, we'll have no problem. I think that Tucker Carlson is going to get a bigger bag as a result of this. He can go anywhere. I'm sure that he has people at his front steps begging him to sign deals on whether or not he's going to wind up coming over to the dark side or another side. Tucker Carlson is going to be just fine.
We'll see you then.
And Paul, are we here?
Look, I hate to say it, Ian, but it's all still just guesswork. There are some who point to another lawsuit against Fox News brought by a former female producer on Carlson's show, alleging, among other things, a toxic work environment. There are Carlson texts that came out in that defamation lawsuit in which he slammed some of his bosses. Rarely does that kind of thing bring job security. But the precise reason for what happened is indeed still a question mark.
And of course, everyone's waiting to hear from Tucker Carlson himself.
Nothing from him. There is reporting tonight Carlson himself found out only minutes ahead of the announcement. So read into that what you will. It is all still a mystery, Ian, at least for now.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm sorry, it wasn't no sound. I'm sorry. I had switched over cameras and it messed up. But the thing about it is, isn't it interesting that it always comes back down to a woman? Isn't it interesting that it always comes back down to a woman? Thank y'all for letting me know in the chat that my audio had been off because I switched cameras. It's always going to come back down to the money, and it always comes back down to a woman, right? And that, think about this for a second, right? There's reports of another lawsuit possibly coming down from an improper relationship or improper workplace. Improper workplace. I've been saying this over and over and over again, that it always comes back down to a woman that is participating in whatever environment that you're in, and that toxic workplace culture always becomes a thing. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that that's the only reason that Fox News decided to part ways with the most popular person that was on the entire network, especially during election season, right? But my point is that Tucker Carlson is going to be fine. Fox News made a strategic decision. Obviously, he felt some type of way about their boss. But I don't care what boss is who. As long as you get in those ratings and as long as you continue to do the numbers, as long as you continue to get the numbers, they'll deal with it. Listen, you can talk about me as much as you possibly can personally until it starts to become public. And then we're going to start having a conversation about whether or not the numbers actually make sense and you're delivering. Now, if you're not delivering and you're not worth the price of potatoes, then we're not even going to have a conversation because I'm not tripping about you anyway. Like, we can go ahead and get rid of you. It's not even that big of a deal no matter what. But if you delivering and it's starting to become a thing, I can deal with it as long as you continue to deliver and do the thing that you're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? So, but here's the other side of it, right? And I have not seen this video, but one thing that I wanted to do is I like to compare and contrast other different people that are on sides of the aisles, news coverage of a thing, in order to make a more informed decision or to get as much information as possible, even though I know they may be slanted. But I want to get as much information as possible about how other people may be covering this and how other people may be seeing things. So this is CNN's perspective of Tucker Carlson's firing.
The sudden and stunning end to Tucker Carlson's tenure at Fox. The network revealing just minutes ago that Carlson hosted his last show this past Friday. Carlson had been a network staple since back in 2009. 6 years, almost 7 years, he had his primetime show. Just 2 weeks ago, he headlined a very important network get, the first post-arraignment interview with the former President Donald Trump. Fox on air and in its statement brands this decision as mutual. Let's get started.
Here's the other side of it, though. He's interviewed a lot of different people. He also interviewed Ye. A lot of people don't remember him interviewing Ye at the height of Ye's perspective, as far as everybody being calling to cancel Ye amid this old rant with Adidas and everything like that. But Tucker Carlson got pulled. I mean, he's a big deal. I need to look up. I wonder how much money Tucker Carlson was making. Let me see if I can find that.
Straight to CNN's Oliver Darcy. Oliver, giant news. What do we know about how it happened and why?
This is really astonishing news, John. In the world of media and in politics, we don't really have any details outside the short statement that I want to read to you from Fox News, which was put out moments ago. It says, Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways. We thank him for his service to the network as a host and prior to that as a contributor. And it goes on to say that his last program already aired on Friday, April 21st, and that his hour will now be hosted by a rotating cast of.
I'm saying that according to Forbes, which obviously we know that Forbes don't know nothing because Forbes just make guesstimations just like everybody else. But according to Forbes, Tucker Carlson made as much as $20 million a year at Fox News. Carlson 53 was making between $15 million and $20 million a year hosting Tucker Carlson Tonight, a 1-hour nightly talk show, according to a person familiar with contract negotiations with Fox and other networks. That salary makes him one of the highest paid people in the industry, has more leverage than anybody else, and he can pick up and go anywhere. Before this, ranked as the #2 most watched show on cable last year, clocking an average of 3.3 million viewers every single night, beat out only by Fox News' roundtable talk show, The Five, before snagging the primetime slot. Carlson was a political analyst for Fox News, where he's worked since 2009. Yeah, he was getting that bag. The sudden announcement comes 1 week after Fox agreed to pay Dominion Voter System $787.5 million in a historic defamation settlement. Dominion sued Fox for $1.6 billion. See, they were suing for $1.6 billion, and then they wound up taking a settlement for $1.6 or for $787 million. In March 2021 for defamation, alleging that the network pushed 2020 election fraud claims involving the company's voting machines, despite knowing they were false, for financial gain. Fox News also ended his relationship with fellow host Dan Bongino, host of Saturday night show Unfiltered with Dan. Last Thursday, he was a divisive pundit, reasoned on his podcast that he and the network couldn't come to terms on an extension. It's not some big conspiracy. So Tucker Carlson was pulling in that bag.
Over on the network. So a very short statement. I can't imagine that this was amicable. Notably missing from the statement was anything from Tucker Carlson himself. And John, this is huge, like I said, in Republican politics as well as media, because Tucker Carlson exerted so much control and so much power and influence over the Republican Party base. You often saw lawmakers like Ted Cruz go on his show and grovel at his feet when he would lash out at them on air. And you, like you said, he had the first interview with Donald Trump after he was arraigned in New York court. And so this is a huge moment, I think, not only in media but also in politics for the whole country.
And so Oliver, we want to be careful because there's a lot we don't know, as you smartly pointed out there. And you very smartly pointed out that there's no comment from Tucker Carlson in the statement issued by Fox. You can draw an inference from that, but we need to be careful. There was nothing, you very carefully covered the lawsuit, Dominion Voting Systems against Fox News. This is not required. There was nothing in that settlement. Fox settled the lawsuit, agreed to pay the money, and there was absolutely nothing like this on the table. So this comes as a total surprise, right?
As far as we know, that was not part of the settlement deal. Now, it's always possible that there was something in there that we didn't know. It's hard to imagine, John, that this is a coincidence. After
Maintenance guys interrupting my show. Let's continue.
Fox pays the highest defamation settlement ever that's publicly recorded in U.S. history, $787 million to Dominion last week. After the settlement, days after Tucker Carlson losing his show, it's hard to imagine these things are coincidental. But the network's not tying the decision to that in their statement, and so we just simply don't know how directly connected they are. But hard to imagine that this was a coincidence days after that settlement.
I agree. I don't think that is a coincidence. I don't think that it's a coincidence at all. I think that it's absolutely tied to the settlement, because there's no way that you're going to lose the most popular pundit on your network and allow for him to go somewhere else without it being affected by what it is that you had to pay out as a result of this settlement, right? Right before election season, the most popular dude, the dude that regularly pulls in 1 million views just with his clips, let alone his specific segments and his takes, the most popular pundit among Republican voters on TV, on the most popular network, the number 2 most watched dude on cable, on the cable network, is no way. No way, no how. Listen, it doesn't matter how you feel about Tucker Carlson. It doesn't matter whether you're liberal or Democrat. Remember this, above anything, it always comes back down to the money. Above anything, it always, shout out to Brian Horsley, sent the 5 ball, I appreciate you. Amongst anything, it always comes back down to the money. The money talks above all. And when you have the highest rated, number 2 most watched person on cable, is no way, no how. Because a large part of how it is that you sell an advertisement is based off of the numbers. It's all data and metrics and your ability to be able to pull in. If you pulling in 3.3 million people every single night on dying platforms such as cable TV, Tucker Carlson is going to be fine. I think that Tucker Carlson is just going to be just fine. Let me read some of these super chats. Then we're going to get into Don Lemon on the other side of it with CNN. Elliot Jackson says, much love. I'll try to get a question in every show. Shout out to Elliot Jackson taking advantage of the opportunity. Eric Cummins says, new sub, showing love. Thank you for dropping that gem on Saturday. Motivation 101. Shout out to you. I appreciate you, Eric Cummings, and for holding down the platform. The Service USA with the 2 ball says, get the likes up. Aaron says he's going to get that bag from Rumble. Where could Tucker Carlson go? Where would he go and that they could pay him that amount, a significant amount of money? The only place that I can think of is the Daily Wire. The only place that I can think of that Tucker Carlson can go to, that he could get an equivalent amount of money and a level of ownership in his own platform that allows for him to continue to be successful, is he either got to start his own thing or he got to go over to like the Daily Wire over there with Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, My guy, the author that wrote 12 Rules for Life. I don't know. It's dropping a brain fart right now. But he probably got to go over there with the Daily Wire. That's the only thing that I can think of that can offer him that type of bag. Chester Williams says the most valuable thing when rich is anonymity. That's not true. It's not true. I do not believe that at all. I believe that that's only true in certain circumstances, depending on the industry that you're in. I do not believe that to be true at all. Not even a little bit. Part of what made Trump Trump and what makes his brand big is the fact that he's able to market himself effectively to the general public. Part of what made people buy into Apple, let me dispel this myth altogether. Part of what Jordan Peterson, that's his name, part of what made people buy into Apple was the fact that they were basically worshiping Steve Jobs. Part of what makes Tesla as popular as it is and why Tesla was able to get rid of its entire marketing department and its PR firm is the fact that it's closely tied to Elon Musk. Elon Musk is SpaceX. Elon Musk is Tesla. People bought into Tesla because of their belief in Elon Musk, which is largely tied to his huge compensation package. The reason why people started rocking back with Apple when they started falling back from what Apple was doing was because Steve Jobs then took the helm and then slowly passed it over to Tim Cook. Right? Anonymity is not what you think it is when it comes to rich people. Part of Trump's allure is his ability to be able to market himself, which allows him to be much more effective than other politicians or businessmen, because the entire name Trump would then generate more revenue, which is one of the reasons why it's tied to certain golf courses. You can't believe everything that they tell you as a talking point on the internet. It's not true. It is absolutely not true. And so shout out to my dog, Anthony Brian Logan. You said Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson hired the same lawyer. You got to give me a little bit of insight. If you can give me some insight on that, and this is no pressure. You don't have to come up if you don't want to. But this is just for Anthony Brian Logan if he has some additional insight for us. Because I'm just now starting to discover and cover it based off of what it is that I'm discovering. But I'm definitely want to get into Don Lemon. Shout out to Chester Williams says, oh, I'm sorry, I already read that. Also, Guillermo Guavara says TV is dying. Example, Netflix took over Blockbuster. Aaron says Don Lemon was fired too. Yeah, I'm gonna cover Don Lemon. Let me get into Don Lemon a little bit. So let me drop this. Let me pull up a video for Don Lemon. And Don Lemon's situation, in my opinion, is much different to Tucker Carlson. I do not believe, and this is not just because Don Lemon is black, okay? I do not believe even a little bit that Don Lemon is even remotely in the same boat as Tucker Carlson. Don Lemon is not Tucker Carlson, but however, Don Lemon did y'all know that Don Lemon worked for CNN for 17 years? Don Lemon worked for CNN for 17 years. Let's continue, y'all.
Well, it didn't take long for CNN to claim back the truth after firing Don Lemon following 17 years with the television network. The former primetime anchor was let go by the Liberal network after months of backlash for sexist remarks and getting demoted from his show. Don Lemon released a statement that read, "I was informed this morning by my agent that I have been terminated by CNN. I am stunned. After 17 years at CNN, I would have thought that someone in management would have had the decency to tell me directly. At no time was I ever given any indication that I would not be able to continue to do the work I have loved at the network."
So Don Lemon is basically saying that, listen, they fired me, but they didn't even have the decency to be able to pull me in and tell me to my face, okay? Let me say this for all of the people that's not familiar with how it really works in corporate America, right? I know a lot of y'all live in an environment where you feel like it is the company's responsibility to look at your seniority, to look at your contribution for the company, so on and so forth. In corporate America and content, news, media, whatever it is that you want to go into, any visibility that you have with any company, if you're a VP, if you're a director, if you're anybody of significance, and I'm going to be reading Super Chat shortly. If you're anybody of significance at any of these platforms, you have to understand that you are an at-will employee. You are an at-will employee, meaning that at any point, for any reason, they don't have to have a reason to let you go. They could just decide that you are not a cultural fit. They could decide that somebody else is better for the job. At any point, they can let you go. And it's the risk that you then take that comes along with all of the great compensation that you have as a result of becoming the face of or a significant person of that creates content for the network. So they don't owe you anything. They don't owe you anything. You have no rights. Now, if you're able to say, yo, they fired me for racial discrimination and you're able to prove it or whatever like that, then that's a completely different conversation. If it's a toxic workplace, like a lot of women try to say or whatever like that, then that's a completely different conversation. But they don't owe you an explanation. You have to understand that every day, especially if you are not adding value or as much value as they think that they can get out of you based off of what it is that the compensation is, every day there is a risk of you. For me, I'm still in corporate America today. A lot of y'all know that I've taken a position inside of corporate America that allows for me to really, really be able to generate a huge bag. I've showed my W-2s. I've showed my money inside of the Patreon. Shout out to the Patreon members. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I've shown my money. At any point, they can say, Anton, you know what? We just don't like you anymore. Or obviously they wouldn't say that, because that would then generate something different that they wouldn't want to deal with. But at any point they can say, listen, your time here is up. We like what you contributed in the time that you were here, but we moving in a different direction and we want to just move on. They don't owe me an explanation. They don't owe me a requirement. They don't even have to contact me. They can do it through human resources. And that's just the end of the conversation. So when y'all see these type of things happen, you got to take yourself out of the mindset of a person that goes to work every day for an auto manufacturer, or, you work at some place that's not at-will employee and you got a Teamsters union or you got the UAW backing you or something like that. It's not the same. You eat what you kill. And the value that you bring, which is one of the reasons why I say that Tucker Carlson or Don Lemon is no Tucker Carlson, because I don't believe even for a little bit, and I'm not saying that Don Lemon is not going to be fine. I'm not saying that he's not going to be able to find another position or he can't branch out on his own. But the reality is that you are an at-will employee, and at any point, they can let you go and they can move on without any explanation whatsoever.
It's clear that there are some larger issues at play. With that said, I want to thank my colleagues and the many teams I've worked with for an incredible run. They are the most talented journalists in the business. And
now, if I'm Don Lemon, I don't even release the statement, right? Because it sounds like he's emotional, regardless of how stoic it is or the fact that he said it on Twitter. If I'm Don Lemon, I would not even release the statement. You know why? Because releasing a statement that's based off of saying that, hey, they didn't even contact me or whatever like that, shows that you're emotional, and it takes you outside of your ability to be able to look at things from a business perspective. We haven't heard from Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson ain't said nothing. He just quiet. I suspect that you won't hear from Tucker Carlson until he probably has a new thing or a new position or a new opportunity that shows up. The fact that Don Lemon just took to Twitter in order to say, hey, they fired me without explanation, or they didn't even have the decency or the nerve to even bring me in and have a conversation, it shows the relationship that you have with them and your inability to separate yourself, the emotions from the business, and you sound like a disgruntled employee. Don't say nothing. You have never, ever, you will never, ever hear me ever slander anybody that I've ever worked with in a corporate setting or did business with. And I will never, ever say anything negative, because it shows your inability to be able to keep things in perspective. That's just from me looking at it.
And I wish them all the best. But according to CNN, that statement just isn't true. CNN Communications Twitter page read, Don Lemon's statement about this morning's event is inaccurate. He was offered an opportunity to meet with management, but instead released a statement on Twitter.
See, and this is why you look stupid. This is why you look stupid. CNN's communications page on Twitter said, listen, he's just emotional and he ain't even telling the truth. He was offered an opportunity to meet with management. He probably said, nah, I know y'all trying to fire me anyway. And instead, he just released a statement on Twitter. See, Companies now have the ability to be able to fire back. They're not just going to be quiet about it. Now you're looking stupid. Now you're looking dumb.
Twitter. Before that, the network had released a statement that read, "Don will forever be a part of the CNN family, and we thank him for his contributions over the past 17 years. We wish him well and will be cheering him on in his future endeavours." Now, sources have told the New York Post there wasn't one specific incident that led the network to fire Don Lemon, but there certainly has been multiple storylines that have cast him in a bad light. One of the main ones being that staff don't get along with him and was said to be ecstatic to see him go. Take a look at this interview Don Lemon did last week with Republican candidate for the 2024 presidential election, Vivek Ramaswamy, where the host can be heard getting angry at the producers in his ear.
Due respect, I find your explanation reductive and actually insulting, including to black Americans, to say that black people today, compared to 1964, 1865, haven't made progress in part because of the freedoms we secured. And the Second Amendment was
black
part
people,
of what secured
hang on,
that
please.
freedom.
I cannot keep a thought if you guys are talking to me in my ear. So hang on 1 second. So to say that black...
What I found, before we continue to look at this footage, all right? What I found is that if you can't keep it professional, and I tell you guys this all the time, right? Especially when you're working in corporate America or you work for anybody else. More important than your talent is cultural fit, whether or not they like you. If you start being a person that is difficult to work with, I'm telling y'all, hear me out. I've seen it play out in my short 41 years on this earth repeatedly. I've seen people lose huge positions. I've seen people get passed over for huge promotions. It is a fact that if you are not a cultural fit, your inability to be able to be worked with, it doesn't matter. You don't smell the right way. You don't carry yourself a certain type of way. You always are complaining every time you come in. You can't show up on time. Your hair is a certain type of way. Whatever. If they don't like you, it is much easier for them to part ways with you, because the minute that you not showing the type of value that you had in the first place, you gone. The fact that he even saying that on air to the producers in his ear shows that he was problematic in their eyes, regardless of whether he was right or not. He was problematic in their eyes. And then when you throw a couple scandals on top of it, as far as a few women that's protesting, now we know that women are always, in most instances, at the forefront of it being a seed of, you know what, Don is creating a problem for us. It's our women audience. It's a combustible situation.
Black people, say what you said again.
Black people secured their freedoms after the Civil War. It is a historical fact, Don. Just study it. Only after their Second Amendment rights were secured.
Probably the most notable scandal surrounding Don Lemon was in February, when on air he said Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley was not in her prime. This comment about a
I covered that. Reading Super Chat shortly.
woman's age was met with intense criticism, with the host being slammed for being sexist and misogynistic.
Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What do you
wait. That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Now, to Don's credit right here, I said that, okay, well, Don took the red pill, and he was right. To Don's credit. Now, listen, it's a lot of things that I disagree with Don Lemon on. But on this situation, he should have, I guess, read the room for the network that he was on. Because obviously you can't get away with that with two hyenas sitting next to you on CNN. But to Don's credit, he was right when he said that Nikki Haley, which is a presidential candidate that is running on the Republican side, and he might have been a little bit biased and a little bit slanted over the idea that it was on the Republican side, and Don Lemon is a huge supporter of liberal networks and liberal people. He was right. And they was feeling some type of way. The truth is that physically a woman is not in her prime, and they hit a wall. Don he kind of said it and called it for what it really was. but it shows how much of a cultural fit he wasn't over at that network, and they were probably getting tired and fed up as a result of it. They made him apologize for this. Of all of the things that Don Lemon has said over the years, they made him apologize for this. All right?
You can see his co-host Poppy Harlow and Caitlin Collins push back against their colleague. The relationship with Poppy Harlow was said to be tense, with the New York Post reporting at the time that she walked off set of the morning show after he made those comments. Although other sources said it was just a well-timed bathroom break. After the prime comments were made, Don Lemon did apologise publicly and was off air for 2 days, but it was reported that he was moping around CNN playing the victim. Sources told Radar Online in March, Don is acting like he's the victim. He is very quiet behind the scenes. He's moping around the joint like he's the one who has been wronged. Poppy and Caitlin have buddied up and the bond between them is stronger than ever.
Now listen, you know that women rebel and they get more power in your demise. If you walking around looking like a sad puppy, you already know. Listen, the writing was on the wall for Don a long time ago. He just didn't know it. He just didn't know it. The writing was on the wall for Don a long time ago. We all seen it. We covered this situation. We predicted it. We knew that it was going to happen. And so the minute that you start offending white women and they feeling some type of way and they starting to bond together a little bit tighter and stronger in order to make sure that they make you or they paint you out to be the bad guy, even though you're the one that just told the truth, and they made you apologize, and they gave you 2 days off of work. Listen, we all should be surprised of what happened to Tucker Carlson. We should not be surprised about what happened to Don Lemon.
The source continued. While they have publicly taken Don at his word that he is truly sorry about what he said, the reality is that the relationship between the three of them had been fractured for some many weeks before. Poppy and Caitlin had private discussions about the situation and are both on the same page. There is a movement rising inside CNN and it isn't in support of Don.
Which means that it's basically a woman's network. CNN is the view. CNN is literally the view of news. You know, with Whoopi Goldberg and all of them other lunch ladies that be on in the morning time talking about how they hate men and all of that. CNN is literally the view of the news. It is a woman's network taking over. And the only reason that I would even refer to CNN News is to get an alternative talking point or an alternative perspective of what it was that we was talking about in the first place. But I largely looked at Don Lemon as feminine anyway. So nothing to see here. But it is one thing that I do want to go into specifically. I want to share with you guys Roland Martin's. Rolly. I want to share with y'all Roland Martin's perspective, right? Now, this was sent to me. I have not watched it. I haven't had time to watch it. I've been sitting inside of the hot tub, having a good time, chilling with my chick, getting the vibes on. Well, not the hot tub, the jacuzzi. We over here in the Dominican Republic with this sketchy Wi-Fi, but we got some great times going on. I've been blogging. I've been having a good time with y'all, right? So, but here's the thing though, right? I suspect, now I don't know for sure, but I suspect that Roland Martin is going to make it a race thing. Honest to God, on my father's grave, I have not even watched a clip. I have not watched 1 second of this video that y'all sent me. But I suspect that Roland Martin is going to make this a race thing. Because anybody that ever gets fired or anybody that gets let go and they just so happen to be black, it always turns into a race thing. It's not the fact that the ratings may be falling. It's not a gender thing. It's not none of that. They always come on to the blackity black. So this is just my prediction. Let me read some of these super chats before we get into this. Anton Dark says, I'm new to the community. I've noticed you're from Detroit. What up, though? What would it take to meet you for a conversation? I did a meetup in Detroit last August, September. It had to be October or September. I'm going to do another meetup in Detroit, but I'll have to stay in touch. Make sure you join the Patreon, bro. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Shout out to my Detroit brethren. If you want to know the truth in any business, follow the money. That is true. That is 100% true. 123J is in the building and says, keep up the good work. I hope people open their eyes and get to the bag. Now you know everybody ain't gonna be opening up their eyes and get to the bag. Grizz Treat says, yo, Anton, I've been getting mentored recently. I put down The Secret not too long ago and seeing how much that correlates with the way you do things. I'm officially a bag chaser today. Hey, can we get a round of applause for all of the new bag chasers? We got a lot of people joining the Patreon lately. Can we get a round of applause for all of the new bag chasers? Salute to you, Grizz Treats. Welcome to the family, my friend. Make sure y'all tap into the Discord. That link in the Discord is in any of the most recent videos inside of the Patreon. Joseph Beslow Jr. says, do you believe there is a spiritual war going on in which there's a separation taking place? Those who are of God are being set apart from the rest. I think that there's always been a spiritual war taking place. I don't think that it's just now starting to take place. I think it's been taking place. It's a war of principalities. It's a spiritual war, but it's then now being reflected in what it is that we see happening in society today. And I think that God's people has been separated a long time. It's just that we're just starting to become a little bit more vocal. Shout out to Joseph. I appreciate you. Aaron says, when I hear former employees talk about coworkers or the company, I just say, oh, okay, and change the subject. Same when current employees talk about former coworkers, keep it neutral, don't burn bridges. I just be dipping out. I don't want to kick it. I don't want to talk about it. I just be dipping out. Antonio Watkins is in the building, says, much love. As always, big bro, check your email. All right, I got you, Antonio. Thank you. Jamal Parks is in the building, says, bruh, called them the lunch ladies. we must protect Anton at all costs. There's two sets of lunch ladies that I can identify right off the top of my head that's on TV. It's Vivica Fox and those people over there at Fox Soul. Vivica Fox and the lunch ladies, which includes Lisa Ray, Selena Johnson and them, and then it's The View, the lunch ladies over at The View. And tell me when you look at that panel of women that they don't look like they deserve a net on their hair and that they should be able to give your child some fries. Let's get into this whole, let's get into this Roland Martin conversation. Make sure y'all hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and check into the Patreon. Link is in the description, as well as pinned to the top of the chat.
People are talking about the firing of Tucker Carlson. Then Don Lemon gets fired at CNN. All right? So he's been on thin ice because supposedly back and forth with Caitlin Collins and Poppy Harlow. Of course, John Malone made clear.
What is up with all that makeup? Where they get these pictures from? Oh, Don, they making you look bad out here. They making you look like like Michael Jackson out here in these streets, bro. Don, don't let them do this to you, bro. Make a phone call over to Roland Martin. Jesus, he got them extra white teeth too. Got them Hollywood whites that they tried to offer me when I got my teeth done. Don't give me them Hollywood whites. Give me one hue lower.
Took over, that he wanted them to be a little bit different, more like Fox News in the reporting. Chris Licht has made it clear he wants the network to attract more conservatives. He wants them to be more down the middle, less rancor, all that sort.
Now it's coming out. So this guy with this receding hairline, I don't know his name, but he wants to attract people that are more closer down the middle. He wants to attract the people like me and you, the guys that's over here at AntonDaniels.com and in the Patreon. And they understand that liberals don't spend money, but conservatives actually support their networks. It's just a fact. It's a fact. Conservatives generally spend more money. And I'm not talking about consumer spending. I'm talking about to support the platforms that they truly believe in versus people that are more liberal leaning tend to be broker, a lot more poor, and they don't support the people that they actually say that they love. And you can kind of see it within the black community or the blackity blacks, right? Pro-black people are always broke telling somebody else how it is that they're supposed to move. But that's a whole other conversation. Let's continue. I like this Roland Martin right here. The take that Roland Martin is taking right now, I like it. I like it.
Sort of stuff. Then the folks at the New York Times, they are saying that this interview last week with the Republican nominee for president, who's Indian American, this played a role in Don getting fired. Listen to the interview.
Due respect, I find your explanation reductive and actually insulting, including to Black Americans.
It sounds like Don Lemon was getting waxed in this debate, in this conversation, but neither here nor there.
To say that black people today, compared to 1964, 1865, haven't made progress in part because of the freedoms we secured. And the Second Amendment was
black
part of what
people,
secured
hang on,
that
please.
freedom.
I cannot keep a thought if you guys are talking to me in my ear. So hang on one second. So to say that black people, say what you said again.
Black people secured their freedoms after the Civil War. It is a historical fact, Don. Just study it. Only after their Second Amendment rights were secured.
They
That's
were
a
not
fact.
secured their freedoms after the Civil War. That is not, you are discounting Reconstruction. You're discounting a whole host of things that happened after the Civil War when it comes to African Americans, including the whole reason that the Civil Rights Movement happened is because black people did not secure their freedoms after the Civil War, and that things turned around. People tried to change the freedoms that were supposed to happen.
And you know how they got it?
War
They got their Second Amendment rights, and they actually got the NRA played a big role in that. But today, Don, the
NRA did not play a big role in
absolutely,
that.
they trained black Americans how to use firearms.
That's a lie. That's not. The NRA did not play a big role in that.
This is just historical fact. But
It's
Don,
not historical fact.
The part that I
just
find...
because you say it's historical.
And ABL says Chris Light replaced Jeff Zucker after Light became in. CNN fired Chris Cuomo and Brian Stelter. Don Lemon was next, but they needed a reason to fire him without being excused for discrimination. So Don Lemon's head was always on the chopping block then. ABL, you saying that Don Lemon was always on the chopping block and they wanted to get rid of him in the first place? Just to remove the possibility. So they basically was waiting for Don to go ahead and throw himself under the bus. And when they seen this play out, and when they also seen what was happening when he went full Kevin Samuels and said that a chick was was past their prime, that gave them all the ammunition that they needed, especially since they suspended them for 2 days, in order to be able to get rid of Don. All right, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
The part that I find insulting is when you say today black Americans don't have those rights after we have gone through civil rights revolution in this country.
You are sitting here telling an African American about the rights and what you find insulting about the way I live, the skin I live in every day.
Here's where you and I have a different point of view.
Black and white that black people don't have in this country, and that black people do have.
Well, here's where you and I have a different point of view.
When did the fact that you are black meant that you knew what you was talking about historically, about how black people secured their freedom? What does that have to do with the price of potatoes in China? A fact is a fact. It don't matter. Like, he's acting like he lived it. Like he was walking on an Underground Railroad or something like that. Like, and this is the weakness that comes along with certain people that's within this community, is that you're unable to be able to have a conversation objectively, and so that affects how it is that you communicate to the people that you're talking to. And when somebody that's not even black comes on and they start speaking facts versus how you feel don't matter, right? This is a refusal to acknowledge that somebody actually has a reasonable point, and you just don't know what you're talking about. You got waxed. Now I'm incentivized. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow's show, but I'm incentivized to go back and look this up and to break this down, because I was not even aware of this until Mr. Roland Martin decided that he wanted to talk about it. But I'm incentivized to go and review this video in order to break this down to see if Don Lemon actually sealed his fate as a result of having this conversation.
I think we should be able to express our views regardless of the color of our skin. We should have this debate
I'm not saying you
without me regarding you as a black
it's
man,
insulting that
but
you're
me regarding you
here,
as a fellow citizen.
That you're
That's what I think
here,
we should say.
whatever ethnicity.
That's a fact.
You are explaining to me
whatever ethnicity
about
I'll
what
tell
it's like to be black.
Whatever
in America.
ethnicity I am, I'll tell you what I am. I'm an Indian American. I'm proud of it. But I think we should have this debate. Black, white, doesn't matter.
I think we should have this
on
debate.
The content of the
ideas. If you're going to do it, you should do it in an honest way and in a fair way. And what you're doing is not an honest.
Yeah, he went blackety black. He went full blown blackety black, and he did the same thing that women do he used a woman's tactic. You can't challenge inner Kevin Samuels on one show and then go full blown female on the next show, and then start using ad hominem attacks, or you start saying I feel like, or start relating it back to what you look like instead of having an objective. I can sit here and say, yeah, we should hold women accountable, and that there's a bunch of baby mamas that's running around here unmarried, having kids out of wedlock, and then raising men. to be feminine, and they don't know that you're supposed to stand a kid up, especially a boy, in order to teach him how to pee instead of always sitting them down on the toilet, because you don't really understand what it takes in order to raise a man, why you need two parents in a household, and kids that are raised with two-parent households married tend to turn out to be much more successful, less likely to go to jail. Like, I can say that. It doesn't matter of whether or not you're a woman and you feel a certain type of way. And it's the same thing as it relates to black people. It's the same thing as it relates to sexual preference. It's the same thing across the board. You can't sit here and then feel a certain type of way as a result of what it is that you look like, even though you've never been through it. If somebody is giving you an objective view or what it is that they deem to be a fact, you can research it, you can debate it, you can use another fact in order to go against it, but you can't then bow out of the conversation and because you feel a certain type of way because of the color of your skin. It's a coward's way out. It's the same thing that women do on a regular basis.
It's a fair way. Okay, we appreciate you coming on.
With due respect, Don, I look forward to continuing that conversation.
We'll
Thank
continue
you.
the conversation.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Papa.
All right, so let's unpack this. All right, now first of all, if the New York Times is saying that that interview was part of the reason why he got fired, that's weak as hell. Now, what's also crazy, if you actually saw the whole deal, Don was not trying to even be in the conversation. Poppy kept asking.
Boy. All right, we back. We back. Shout out to the Dominican Republic internet, but we back in the building. But Roland Martin could quite possibly be the biggest troll on the internet, in my opinion. I think that Roland Martin is starting to be a person that I like reacting to a little bit more than Umar Johnson, because he's off. He's off on a lot of different things. And the only thing in order for Roland Martin to be able to agree with you, the only thing that you need is to be black. It don't matter what gender you are. It don't matter. You got to be black and you got to be liberal. I'm sorry. It's two things. You got to be black and you have to be liberal. It's the only two things that you need in order for Roland Martin to be on your side. You can be wrong as two left shoes. You could be a woman. You could be a man. You could be a kid. You could be a drill rapper that's robbing people like King Vaughn and got 10 bodies over there in Chicago. And we know that Roland Martin is never going to hold you accountable unless you say that you are conservative. Then he will come against you, and then he will have a hard debate for you. Let's continue.
But here's what I need people to understand. And whenever these things happen, and these firings and stuff like that, I love it how, like, even during the whole Dominion deal, everybody kept talking about how powerful, the power that the Fox News host had, that Sean Hannity had, the power Tucker Carlson had, how they were even more powerful than their bosses, CEO Suzanne Scott. Y'all heard me say this when we talk about athletes. Ooh, LeBron.
You know, it's so funny. Somebody said you're the same with right wingers, Anton. Well, why is it that I actually advocated for and stomped for Andrew Yang, not based off of his socialist policies of the $1,000, but that he actually understood technology in the way that America was going, out of ignorance to an extent, because there was a lot of other things, obviously, in hindsight that we can't look back on. Why is it that I actually supported Andrew Yang? See, y'all just talk. Y'all don't really know, but it's documented, right? And that I don't entirely look at whether or not you say you are a Democrat or a Republican, right? It's plenty of people that I would never vote for just because they say that they're a Democrat or a Republican, right? But the fact of the matter is I am very conservative in my values, and that I do lean more to the right because I do more closely identify with the ways in which this country is supposed to be ran from a person that looks at it from a more conservative perspective. I think that we've become way too liberal. I'm not going to get into that. I'm a deep dive. That'll be a part of my ending monologue.
He's the most powerful NBA player. Do y'all see the shirt I got on? It says black owned.
Oh, Jesus.
The only people, see, take that part off. The only people who got power are the people with the own part. It don't matter if Tucker was getting $12, $15 million a year. It don't matter if Don was getting $3, $4, $5, $6 million, whatever he was getting. It doesn't matter that Jeff Shell was a CEO and he made $21 million last year. All three of them employees.
You know what the interesting part about this is, though? If YouTube decided that they no longer wanted to roll with Roland Martin, it's the dumbest thing that I've ever heard in my entire life, in that ownership removes the ability for you to be able to have to subject yourself to another group of people. Roland Martin literally panders to his audience. His audience is his boss, right? We all, in some way, shape, or form, in one way or another, answer to somebody else. And we all have to abide by whatever the guidelines are on the platforms or the people that we serve in order to continue to make resources. Listen, let's be real. Let's just keep it 100% all the way across the board. We all abide by YouTube's guidelines in order to continue to have these live streams on this platform. Stop it. At any point, some unknown face, and we seen it what happened when Elon Musk released the Twitter files. At any point, somebody can censor you. Look, I told Rita the other day, hey Rita, can you hear me? Yeah. Come here, baby, just a little bit. Yeah. On my other channel, right? When I showed you what was happening as far as the different videos that I uploaded, and it was literally about 12 to 13 different videos, what was happening? They got to be reviewed. Every single one of those videos had to be reviewed, and apparently YouTube was backlogged by like 2 or 3 days, in which I couldn't even drop a video and be monetized on them because every single thing that I had uploaded was yellow. I know plenty of people that's been shadow banned on YouTube, and plenty of channels that's been shadow banned on YouTube. All of us, in one way, shape, or form, answer to, and we can't just do what we want to do when we want to do it, because even if you own your own business, your customers are largely the determination for whether or not you're going to get patronized or not. All you need is one person on TikTok to make a video because they got mad at the person that served them, which is not necessarily a reflection of the business itself. That person just could have had a bad attitude that day. And then they're going to make a video on TikTok and they can literally go and cancel your restaurant to where it prevent people from coming in that otherwise would have been customers. Stop it with this ownership thing, thinking that you just the big boss just because you are taking a different strategy when it comes to content creation. The goal is to make money. The goal is not to be... Let me be quiet. Let's continue. Because it shows the ignorance. And you said Roland has his own app called the Black Star Network. On what platforms? Who has to make sure that... Who approves whether or not that application can even go into the App Store? Apple? Android? He don't have his own... Listen, unless you own the infrastructure, even if you own the infrastructure, you still can be censored by the federal government if you don't meet the guidelines that they deem necessary for you to even, you can't even have your own website. If they deem you to be a national security risk or they want to remove you, they will remove you. For some reason, y'all think that just because you created and you name it Black owned or your own, the very shirt that he's wearing right now, I guarantee you he don't even know where the cotton comes from. He don't even know that there's only a few companies within the United States of America that owns all of the cotton and the textile companies that then makes the majority of the content or the majority of the materials that we then use for shirts in the United States of America. And I guarantee you he don't even know that they're not Black owned. I guarantee you he know nothing about that. Why? Because when he got an Etsy shop and you can buy merch from him. Come on, man. Y'all have no clue of what you're talking about. At some point or another, you still have to get approval, right? Even as an app developer, you have to pay the fee to get approval to even upload stuff into the App Store alone. Okay. You think it's sweet. Say what you want to say, do what you want to do without meeting any of the guidelines and see what happens. Let's see how much it really matters. Y'all crazy.
And I keep telling y'all, employees can't get fired. owners can't get fired. Now, owners.
Tell that to Donald Sterling. Tell that to Donald Sterling. Donald Sterling messed with the wrong hoe, said the wrong thing, and next thing you know, they got him up out of that franchise, and you had Steve Ballmer buying the LA Clippers. Tell that to Donald Sterling. This is a false narrative. Don't sit here and let him sell y'all on this. Being an owner is basically being a servant. Being a boss is basically being a servant. It means that you put the needs of everybody else before yours, and you ensure that everybody else is successful and get paid before you. When payroll go out, I get paid last. That's what it means. Being a leader means that you put everybody else's needs before your own, and then you get the fruits and the spoils and the rewards and the accolades that come along with it. It's not the glamorous thing that y'all think it is. There's plenty of people that tell that to Steve Jobs when he got ousted out of his own company from Apple before he came back. Go and watch the movie. Go and watch Jobs. Go and watch how he was crying inside of his own house because he got ousted from his own company. Tell that to the McDonald's brothers where Ray Kroc went in there and he took everything out of them. Sit here and tell me, come on, man. Stop it. Stop it, bro.
Can voluntarily step down. They can resign. They can retire. They don't get fired. Rupert could turn the company over to his sons. He still owns the stock. So I need y'all to understand, it was a target on Don's back from the moment Warner took over the company. John Malone said it. Y'all, this real clear. Now Don, y'all got Don's statement? Pull it up. Don released a statement to the press where he said, I was terminated.
And we all know that CNN already responded to this and said that it was false and that he could have actually met with management, but he declined to, and he decided to put out a statement on Twitter. So take what he's saying right now with a grain of salt. It doesn't even really mean anything. Let's continue.
Informed this morning by my agent that I have been terminated by CNN. I am stunned. After 17 years at CNN, I would have thought that someone in management would have had the decency to tell me directly. At no time was I
fair use. We just reviewing this video. This is fair use.
Ever given any indication that I would not be able to continue to do the work I have loved at the network. It is clear that there are some larger issues at play. With that said, I want to thank my colleagues and the many teams I have worked with for an incredible run. They're the most talented journalists in the business, and I wish them all the best. Now, Don been there 17 years. The folks at CNN PR did issue a statement with regards to Don's statement.
Let me tell you something. If CNN came to me right now and they said, Anton, we got 5 M's a year for you in order for you to come over here and create your own show, I'm going. I'm going. If CNN came over to me right now and they said, Anton, listen, we like what you got going on over there. We want to make you a big star and we want you to be able to come over here and anchor this show for an hour a day or 2 hours a day or whatever, I'm going. I'm going. I'm going. I am a bag chaser to my core. I am a bag chaser to my core. I'm going. You can stamp it. You can take that black on. Now, how we negotiate the contract and what's going to be the guarantees and all of that is a whole other conversation. But don't think for 1 second that I'm going to be telling my Patreon members like, hey, we all going over to CNN. We going to change this into a completely different network. This is the Anton Daniels CNN. I'm going. I'm going to get that bag all day long. I'm not going to sit here and stand in front of y'all in cap. I'm going to get that bag. I'm going to get that bag. Don't think for one, you can keep that on owner. I own the money that they paid me for the services that I rendered. And then I use that money in order to continue to put money into the assets that's going to generate me the biggest returns that come along. My goal is to extract the resources, and then I can do what I want to do as far as buying the assets. The goal is to get the money. Listen, from one business owner to another. I know a lot of y'all are business owners that tap into the show. From one business owner to another, we leave no bags behind. You know how they say no man left behind? No bags left behind. What we do with the money is a completely different conversation. That's where we tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. But no bags are left behind over here at the Anton Daniels Network. No bags. We want all bags in, no money out. All bags in, no money out. All right? Real talk.
Go to my iPad. They said Don Lemon's statement about this morning's event.
Are you going to spew their false narratives? I'm gonna say what they write. Whatever the producers say, I'm gonna be. Listen, today, the Trump administration, I'm gonna say what they write. Listen, the views and the opinions expressed on this show is not a reflection of Anton from Anton Daniels specifically himself, but it is the views of the producers that wrote this content for me to say it, and they're talking in my ear and say it with more enthusiasm. The Donald Trump administration, don't think for 1 second that I'm not going to go and get that bag. I'm coming to get the bag. I'm coming to get it, and I'm going to write what the producers got on the strolling screen for me to say it, and I'm going to practice it before I get there, and I'm going to say it with enthusiasm. I'm going to say it with my chest. Do I sit there and tell you not to say what you don't want to say when you tell me, do I want fries with my drink? You say it with your chest. You don't want to ask. Every day you feel in a certain type of way about whether or not I want fries with my burger. Yes, I want fries, and preferably hot. You said you don't want to say it every day. Every day I come through the same place and I come to get hot fries, and you ask me if I want hot fries, knowing I want hot fries, but you say it and you don't want to say it every day, so I can't sit here and say what the producers told me to tell. Whoever your boss is told you to ask me if I wanted hot fries, and you sit there and ask me every day and you don't want to say it, so why I can't say what they say on CNN? I'm coming to get that bag. I'm coming to get that bag. CNN.
This is inaccurate. He was offered an opportunity to meet with management, but instead released a statement on Twitter. Let me say this again, y'all. It was a bullseye on his back. When he got moved from prime time to the morning, that wasn't no promotion. He went from having a show where he was the host to a show with 3 other hosts, one that got no business being there on the set, Caitlin Collins. She ain't ready. She ain't ready for prime time. She not, okay? She way too green, okay? She need to go back and get some more experience, okay? So you had all these incidents. The Nikki Haley comment, past prime, big screw up, okay? But the deal is, bullseye was there. Y'all, all the stories you saw drop, the Variety story, the story over the weekend saying White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre wouldn't appear on the show with him, chose to do the interview with anchor with somebody else. Karine, they released a statement that said Karine denies it. Y'all, all those stories came from inside CNN.
I don't really understand what he's saying here. Like, I don't really understand what the point that he's making here. He's basically saying that Don, and he skipped over the whole idea of, you know, a couple of the blunders that Don made, that he basically allowed for them to be able to get him fired without discrimination and all of that. He skipped over all of that part. He said that really, really quickly, and he just skipped right on over that, and he said, we're going to keep on going with this narrative, this black on black narrative. Don had a bullseye on his back. Listen, okay, so they wasn't rocking with him no more. Move on. Move on. They was trying to figure out how to... Anybody has ever had a job that you know that your boss is waiting for you to actually be late one more time so they can fire you? Anybody had a job where they knew you start getting your resume together, you start looking for another job. You knew you was going to mess up. You knew there was no way that you was going to be able to survive through the year in order to get that attendance back together. Some of y'all done been on PIPs before, performance improvement plans. You knew that you wasn't going to make it. You knew that your boss had it out for you. You knew that you was going to be a screw up one more time. Don should have knew. Don should have been planning his exit a long time ago. Don should have came over here and started a YouTube channel. Some of y'all listen, it's quite a few people in here right now. Some of y'all are on performance improvement plans right now. Right now, you're on a performance improvement plan. Some of y'all know y'all on a performance improvement plan. He should have did like all the rest of the black folk that know that their head is on the chopping block. Go ahead and start getting your resume together, getting your LinkedIn set up, get your profile and clean up your social media and start looking for that next job, man. Real talk.
And so I'm just trying to explain to y'all, you got to be aware of what's going on. Tucker, Tucker didn't learn nothing from Bill O'Reilly.
What?
See, Rupert like, damn, I just paid $787.5 million. I spent $32, $35, $40 billion on settlements for Bill O'Reilly. Now I'm gonna have to spend another $10, $15, $20 million on this other woman because of Tucker. Yeah, your ass gotta go. Y'all, employees ain't got no power. They will bounce your ass.
All right, so as usual, Roland Martin ain't really got no hot takes. He don't have no additional insight. He's not breaking it down from a business perspective. He's reading it straight from the iPad that somebody else created notes for, allegedly. He's not saying nothing. He's doing the whole shucking and jiving. They will bounce your ass on the pot there as soon as they got you on camera. Boy, we not sitting here. Look, listen to him.
In a heartbeat, and it don't matter.
Okay. Thanks, Roland. Thanks for the hot take. I know I probably missed some super chats because when the stream started messing up for a second, it erased my thing. But I got a few of y'all, so I'm gonna acknowledge y'all. Any super chats that I possibly missed, I'm very sorry. My software messed up, and I do want to acknowledge y'all, so I'm acknowledging you now. Thank you for supporting the platform. Based Ganja says, hey, Anton, is it better to take online or in-person classes when attending the community college? I think it's better to take whatever it is that's convenient for your schedule. I prefer to take online classes. Maybe it depends on your learning style. I believe in online classes because I wanted to fit it into my schedule and my calendar. It's all based off of what's convenient for you. I think that it's always better to do online classes because you want to do the thing that gives you the most mobility. You don't want to be tied to a classroom. All right, that's old school. We done with that. Patty Jackson is in the building. Says Chicago just got a glimpse of Hope Kim Fox just announced she is running for re-election. Hey, send me that. Email me that, y'all, because I need that because I'm going to be breaking that down. Shout out to Patty Jackson in the building. Aya says the way so many comments here disagree with logical arguments that Anton puts forward. It's like listening to obese folks correct David Goggins about fitness and mental health is baffling. You got to let them, listen, let the pigs play in the mud. They here for a reason. Let them be here and get this game so that they can actually eventually come to the conclusion that they need to get their life together financially. Aaron says, look at Chris Wallace when he was on Fox versus CNN. He went from super conservative to liberal real quick. They all do it for the money. Service USA says, get that money. Get that shmoney. You know what I'm saying? Dame Dash says, Snyder was forced to sell, not fired, Commanders. Patrick Hill says, what? 45-47. 45-47. Shout out to Richard Redding. Richard Redding says, I'm all for Anton on CNN, but are they going to let you cuss? Probably not. But you know me, I'll just be like, what the F? I'll just use the letters. We gonna make it do what it do, baby. Listen, make sure y'all get a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I got something for y'all that I think that y'all gonna like. One more time, just like Umar Johnson, I got something for y'all I think y'all gonna like. The Biden has announced that he is running for re-election. Take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen.
Live now to our newsroom. Jessica Guay is following all of these developments for us. Jess.
Yeah, that's right. President Joe Biden made it official in a video release. As you mentioned, he is running for president again, exactly 4 years after he announced his last presidential bid for the 2020 race. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Hold on, y'all. Before we get into this, y'all got to get my likes up, yo. Y'all got to get my likes up, man. Y'all got to get my likes up. How do y'all feel Ask yourself this question before we get into this conversation, all right? We got a couple things that we want to mine out. Ask yourself, how do you feel about the idea of Joe Biden running for another term, another 4-year term? Remember this also, as we look at this new thing that Joe Biden just recently released that's basically launching his new campaign. How do you feel about the job that he's done, about everything that's going on with Ukraine, BRICS, Russia, China, inflation, the US dollar, jobs, infrastructure, running in the Victim Olympics, advocating for the alphabet community? How do you feel about Kamala Harris? Obviously, we know that she'll have another term. It seems like it was just yesterday. Thank you for the super chats. I'm going to be reading them shortly. It seems like it was just yesterday that Biden was just elected. Let's go ahead and look at this.
When I ran for president 4 years ago, I said we're in a battle for the soul of America, and we still are. The question we're facing is whether in the years ahead we have more freedom or less freedom, more rights or fewer. I know what I want the answer to be, and I think you do too. This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for re-election.
In the 3-minute video, President Biden repeated some familiar themes. The video includes images of the January 6th deadly insurrection at the Capitol and Republicans,
Playing on y'all emotions.
including former President Donald Trump, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene.
But you know, around the country, MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms, cutting Social Security.
Ooh, he had Trump in there and DeSantis. He had Trump and DeSantis in there. Yeah, this is going to be fun.
You paid for your entire life while cutting taxes for the very wealthy, dictating what health care decisions women can make, banning books, and telling people who they can love.
Ooh, look at this. Hey, look at the imagery, and look how it goes so fast. Look at the imagery. And look how it goes through in different little slots so fast. Thank God we have social media today where we can pause and rewind and go back and look at exactly what's being presented to us. Look at the imagery, y'all. And telling people who they can and can't love.
Who they can love, all while making it more difficult for you to be able to vote.
Later today, the president will be...
Ooh, look at that, look at that, look at that power team. A white man, the first woman vice president of the United States of America, and Cam Harris, who also just happens to be an AKA, by the way.
Be addressing a meeting of labor union leaders in Washington, another move similar to his 2019 launch. In the early days of his 2020 campaign, Biden traveled to Pittsburgh to address a supportive crowd filled with labor union members. The president's campaign is expected to host major campaign donors in Washington this week, and the White House Correspondents' Dinner is Saturday. Former President Donald Trump currently tops multiple polls for the 2024 GOP nomination after announcing his own re-election bid late last year. Should President Biden, who is now 80, win the presidency, President Biden would be 82 years old at the beginning of his second term. And
82 through 86? 82 through 86? That gotta be amongst the oldest presidents that's ever lived in the United States of America.
86 by the end of it. He's already the oldest person ever to win the presidency. We'll make sure to keep you updated as this story develops. Live in the...
So, how do you guys feel about that? Just in general, a general sentiment. Let me see what's happening out here in this chat. He's not making it through the first term, running on an image, and I'm not the other. Black LGBTQ men was so yesterday. The future is female. Y'all heard it here. Get the hell on, Gramps. I'm not voting Dem. Somebody is voting these people in. Listen, I don't know if it's your kids, your mama, your daddy, your girlfriend, who. Somebody is voting Biden in office. Somebody is voting in office. Meanwhile, on the flip side of it, I just heard that Biden is ruling to redistribute high-risk loan costs to homeowners that got good credit. Y'all don't know what that means? Here, let me break it down for you. Let me share with you what's going on. You ready?
As of the Saturday, President Biden is ready to make another run for the White House, so we're hearing. And after months of hints, 3 sources telling NBC News the president could launch his re-election campaign as soon as Tuesday. That date would mark the anniversary, by the way, of Biden's 2020 campaign announcement. Joining us now is Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, senior.
I just wanted to make sure y'all getting it from multiple different sources. Now I want to share this with you.
Welcome back. The March existing home sales report out at 10 a.m. Eastern this morning. Prices are expected to come down 1.7%. Mortgage
Reading Super Chat shortly.
rates spiking up to 6.43% yesterday as the Biden administration is planning to force homebuyers with good credit to pay more for their mortgages so that they can subsidize the loans of high-risk borrowers.
Now hear me out.
Experts reportedly estimating that good credit buyers could pay about $40.
Hear what we saying here. The Biden administration, okay, is subsidizing high risk with people that have good credit. Have I not been warning y'all? Let's stop for 1 second. All right. Have I not been warning y'all that we are moving over into a socialist environment, and credit in a general sense just gives banks, elected officials, and whoever has access to it the ability to look at you in the same way that we look at these little characters on a screen from a gamification perspective in order to make more informed decisions of how it is that they can leverage what it is that you have going on in order to then energize whoever it is that's more in favor for what it is that they're doing from an incentive perspective. So if the majority of voters, right, if there's a large segment of voters, and if people that are leaning more to a liberal perspective are the most enrolled, the most in debt, the most begging for Biden, for student loan forgiveness, the most that are only putting down 3.5%, the most that are getting their cars repossessed, the people that have the worst credit. If the majority of those people make up 90% of your voter base, or if they make up a huge segment of your voter base, what's stopping policy from being implemented that then punishes people that do the right thing, that lean more from a conservative or Republican perspective, and then to reward those? This is the whole idea of eat the rich. And I've been saying this for years, right? I'm not going to suffer as a result of it. I'm not going to suffer. You want to see what my credit? I don't even know if I can pull my junk up, because I got it on this phone right here. I don't mind. I'll share it with you. I have no problems whatsoever. Let's pull in the FaceTime HD. I have no problems whatsoever with it. I'm not gonna be the one to suffer. I buy nothing. Nothing is in my name. Why did it go off? Why did it change my microphone? My point is, you seen it. Okay, so you can't hear me or whatever. But my point is that I don't have anything. I have no changes. I don't use credit. I don't have anything on my credit. I have no credit card debt, no use, no nothing, right? I have nothing. I don't use credit. I buy everything cash. Everything that I put up, every home that I build, every property that I buy, every car that I have, it's all cash. I don't have anything that I'm utilizing in order to be able to substantiate my lifestyle. I'm not going to be affected by what goes on with the Biden administration. At all. At all. Zero. So we different. Now, who you have to ask yourself is, who is this going to affect? The middle class. You guys are going to be the ones that suffer and pay for the sins of your friends. You guys are going to be the ones that suffer and pay for the sins of your friends. You're going to pay for it. I got them. I sit on them, but I don't do anything with them. Or you want to see what I use, for example? This one. This is one of them. What do I use this for? Well, I use it to be able to get rental cars, being able to get hotel rooms, making sure that I got everything booked or whatever like that. But I don't utilize it in the same way that you do. And so when the Biden administration say, oh, okay, cool. Well, we're going to use this in order to continue to run up the check and then help people run in the Victim Olympics, I'm not going to be the one that's affected as a result of it. You are. You're going to be the one that suffer as a result of
it. Additional a month on a $400,000 mortgage. The rule is set to go into effect on May 1st. Bob, it's subsidizing those homeowners who probably shouldn't have the mortgage in the first place.
Yeah, we've seen this before, haven't we?
Yeah.
When people were subsidized, whether it was autos.
Let's read this. Home buyers with a credit score of 680 or higher, 680 or higher, which isn't even like crazy. It's just like, that's just okay. Will pay about $40 per month more on a home loan of $400,000. Home buyers who make down payments of 15 to 20% will get socked with the largest fees.
Whether it's been homes, and then they default. And so it just comes back to bite you. But again, it's another subsidy to try and buy votes, right? And I don't know what good credit is. I mean, is it a FICO score that determines that? Is there a price level by which the buyer, as I was mentioning to you earlier about LA, they have this rule out there now. If you sell your house, say $5 million, you got to give the governor $250,000 for homeless.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's like you're locked up in your home.
Well, I mean, they did this with student loans right before the election, Kaylee, and it was, telling young people that I'm going to forgive their debt sparked young people to come out and vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah, and I think of this.
And what are they doing? And it never fails. It never fails. What are they doing right around election season? Why do you think that they went to war with the Supreme Court on making sure that student loans, remember, the only student loans that's been forgiven up to this point are student loans from like wild institutions or places like ITT Technical Institute, where the guy was on there with his hat turned backwards talking about, you ain't doing nothing, huh? You might as well get, you know what I'm saying? Get off the couch, come and get this. And so they charge you these egregious fees because it was a for-profit university. Places like that. And then people that had worked for government entities for over 10 years in order to get their stuff, taken off, and everything had been messed up with the federal government and paperwork. A lot of those loans were forgiven and stuff like that, right? But when it comes to you, right? Remember when they promised you, they said, listen, if you got this amount of student loans, it could be forgiven. And all of y'all was sitting there fighting with me, and you were saying, on coaching calls and stuff like that. Well, I got the money. I just don't want to pay it off because I don't know if Biden is going to forgive it or not. And I said, okay, smart move. We'll make sure you hold on to the money. And then you went and used the money and you went to Louis Vuitton and you went and got a BBL. Remember when you went to Louis Vuitton and you went and got a BBL? Remember that? Huh? Remember when you went to Louis Vuitton and you went and got a BBL? Remember when you went to Louis Vuitton and you went and got a BBL? Remember? Huh? You spent the money and they still haven't forgave your student loans. They gave you 0 interest over all of these years and you still haven't gotten your student loans forgiven. And now you letting all of this time and eventually the moratorium is going to end and they're going to start charging you interest back on your student loans and you still ain't paid them off. You just adjusted your lifestyle. That's it. You adjusted your lifestyle.
Rule the same way that I even think of the electric vehicle push, in that it's a direct attempt to inject socialism into the economy. It is the federal government deliberately interfering with the market in order to force the market to act according to its whims instead of just allowing consumers to decide for themselves what they want to buy, which kind of car, or who gets mortgages, who is eligible, right? These are things that the government should not have control over. The banks should, or the market should. The market should determine the direction of this. And the Biden administration is deliberately trying to change that.
Yeah, Mark.
Just to kind of echo your point, this is socialism for homeowners. We mentioned the student loan issue. Cab drivers who never went to college are subsidizing that student loan debt, right? And in this situation, this Biden administration, more and more often, they are making decisions to reward bad decisions. And that's not the way you grow as a country, as an economy. Essentially saying, hey, if you spent recklessly, you lived above your means, and you stopped making your payments on time, have no fear, someone who's done it the right way is going to pay for you.
I don't care if it's $1, $2, $3, $4, $40. Now, we know the going rate for some of these chicks is $40. We've seen it during the pandemic. All right? All of y'all were old enough to be able to live through the pandemic. I don't care how much money it is. One thing I know for sure, and two things is for certain, is that I don't want to be forced to give money to somebody who decided to live their life a completely different way. Why should any of us subsidize somebody else's lifestyle? Why should we be forced to subsidize somebody else's lifestyle who decided to do things the wrong way? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. The market determines who's the winners and the losers. The market determines who's the winners and the losers. It's not the federal government that continues to write policies that allow for people to complain, say, eat the rich, sell their shirts, sell their kidneys, go and have kids out of wedlock, make bad decisions, and then go ahead and live their life how they want to live it. This is insane. This, in my opinion, is insane. You already got free college. You already get unlimited Pell Grants that you decided to mess over, and because your parents didn't make that much money, and so you went to college for free, but you then took the additional loans out so that you can then come back and beg Biden for student loan forgiveness, even though you didn't need the additional loans. You could have went to community college, used the same amount of money that you would have got in a Pell Grant to go to school for free and get your books for free and to be able to buy a car when you got your refund back. But you decided to run in the Victim Olympics, and now, as a grown individual, you are still being coddled by these liberals that then told you that they were going to tie you to the Democratic plantation, and you still there. And they doing it for votes. They have no reason to do this other than to do it for votes.
And that's not what capitalism is all about.
Yeah.
And it puts us in a situation where there's no consequences when you make bad decisions.
No.
My wife and I, we were paying, when we moved to Cleveland, Mark, back in the 70s, we were paying 18%.
Wow.
No one gave us anything.
Right.
We just struggled and worked our way through it.
Yeah, well, that's not what the administration...
Can you imagine paying 18% interest on a home back in the 70s and the 80s? We have more options than we've ever had before. We have more free market ability to be able to do the things that we want to do than we ever done before. And we sitting here complaining about it instead of doing something about it. But this is the lane that you created, ladies and gentlemen. This is the bed that y'all wanted to sleep in. This is how you wanted to rock. Let me pull this up a little closer. Make sure I get a full view. This is how you wanted to rock. And so as a result, this is the bed that y'all gonna sleep in. Listen. A lot of people think leadership is about how much money you are able to make. It's not. Leadership is how you teach your people to eat and then how much money you're able to keep. A lot of y'all are tied to the Democratic plantation and you're unable to break away because you're always looking for a handout, right? I'm so tired of hearing about this reparations conversation. It is driving me insane. I'm so tired of people that look like me begging somebody else in order to forgive them. Stop messing up. You don't have to ask for forgiveness when you didn't do anything wrong. I'm so tired of the simping and pandering over into people that don't even care nothing about you. And so what they do is they utilize it and they hang it over your head and they say, listen, vote for me and I'll give you something. You're not able to come to the table with a request because you're the person that's in need. Think about it for 5 seconds. For 5 seconds, you're not able to come with a request because you're the person in need. The person in need is the loser in every situation, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're in business and you're trying to negotiate your contract for whatever job they're trying to. If you're think about this for a second, right? And this is the mindset that I see from a lot of people that look like me. They wait until they're about to lose their job or they get fired before they start looking for a new one. And so what happens is they're at the mercy of whomever it is that's looking to employ them. Because then they can tell you, well, listen, this is all I got, or this is the opportunity that I got for you. And then you're going to take it because the only thing that you're looking to do is survive. But when you're in a thriving mindset, I often tell people that I coach, I say, listen, you want to stay in corporate America or you want to stay in this particular position, whether you go on upward mobility or not, you want to start getting the itch at around 3 years. Now, why 3 years? Because 3 years allows for you to show some stability. You get some projects under your belt. You can speak to how you've been able to grow within the company, the accomplishments that you have. You can add it into your resume or your LinkedIn. That allows for you to actually push the agenda for how great you are as an employee. And you make some good references and some good relationships that then will carry you, or you may be doing business with those people long term. At 3 years is when you start to get the itch. Not when you on the chopping block, not when they doing reductions in the company, not when they feeling some type of way about you because you're not a cultural fit. At 3 years, then you want to start getting the itch for moving on. That's when you want to start getting that light bulb in your moment. Okay, I've been here. I don't want to get complacent. They'll pay me more to leave than they will to stay, right? By year 4, you want to start really moving your way out the door, right? At year 4, you want to start moving your way out the door. Now, it's a much different negotiation when you're having that conversation from a position of power versus a position of duress, because I don't need another position. I'm mining through the different opportunities. You walk into the interview process with a whole nother swagger. Fellas, if you got women in your fleet, right? And you go into the bar or you going into this environment. Now you got chicks that's calling your phone or whatever, or you got people that you cool with or people that you can't call and say, what up? You want to go out to eat or whatever. But you just out chilling. I don't know how often at times y'all out going by yourself. I'm very comfortable outside by myself, right? I go a lot of different places. I network, I have conversations. But when you walking in, you got a whole nother confidence about you because you don't need nothing from nobody. You got money in your pocket, right? Everything is going great. Your bills is paid. Everything is taken care of. Your businesses is booming. You doing really well in life. You got chicks that love you and people that's seeking your attention. You got a whole nother different type of confidence. You're not walking in there desperate, trying to hurry up and get somebody to take home. because you got options. And just because you got options don't mean that you necessarily gonna take any option that's presented to you. You moving from a position of abundance instead of a position of duress. And that's why they say men that have people that already want them or people that already got money, they think differently, they move differently, right? When you go into the hood, you know why all of the cash advance places is in the places that got the most duress? Is because they know that ain't nobody in their sane right mind in a position of power ever gonna take them crazy interest rates. But it's the desperate people that do. They take the worst jobs, they take the worst women that don't add any value into their life, and they take the worst positions, and they take the worst loans. They take the worst opportunities that's presented to you. You will only save enough money to be able to put down a down payment to say that I own my own home. When in reality, you don't. You won't do the 15-year mortgage. You won't put the 20% down. You won't pay cash. You won't make any of the best or the right decisions to save your life that puts you in the best position possible, because everything you've been taught in your life is to be based off of operating under duress. Just get my foot in the door. Get the most car I can get for the payment that I can afford, instead of looking at the interest rate, right? Why should I be patient for the woman that actually adds value into my life when I could just hurry up and get some pussy right now? You take the immediate pussy instead of getting the person that adds the most value that can raise your kid to be a success. You're not looking at your future child. You're not looking at whether or not this woman that got herpes can pass it on to the child once they born, or can pass on a venereal disease. You just gonna see it through because you so desperate to get it right now. You so desperate for that little bit of money. That little bit of money. They flashed a couple $100 in front of your face, and then all of a sudden, you gotta hurry up and get it. You're gonna risk your whole life, possibly do 5, 10, 15, 20 years in prison, when in reality, you can be poor for the next 4 or 5 years, go into becoming a doctor or doing your residency, and then be rich for the rest of your life. I tell y'all all the time, make the sacrifice now so you can do what you want to do for the rest of your life. But no, we always got to operate with this survival mindset, which is one of the ways in which they tie you to your job. They tie you to that hoe. Now you had a kid with her out of wedlock, and you practically married to her because you got to deal with her for the rest of your life, for the existence of that child. Unless you die before that child, you got to deal with a baby mama that you just so happen to feel a certain type of way about, that you don't even want to deal with for the rest of your life. But you tied to her. The decisions that you make, the short-term decision that you're making now is going to tie you to her. You're married to that woman. In one way or another, whether you took the vows or not, you got to pay her like you're married to her. You got to pay child support. You got to go to family court. You got to see her every time you pick your child up. You got to negotiate with her. You got to try to convince her not to be able to take your child away from you. Instead of finding a woman that can raise your child and be the mother of your child and marry her and then see that through, you're making short-term decisions, and that's what we do every single day. You make a short-term decision with your money. You make short-term decisions with your women. You make short-term decisions with your job. You make short-term decisions with your friends. You make short-term decisions with where it is that you travel. You make short-term decisions with the crime that you do. I see people today. I'm still looking at stories today of people that are getting convicted for PPP loans right now. I still see people getting convicted for PPP loans right now. I see people jump on YouTube. Anton, how do I short-term be able to get my followers up? When I joined YouTube, when I joined content creation, I said, Rita, I'm going to do this for 10 years and see what it take me. It didn't mean nothing to me as much as it meant to other people that just trying to get clout. You know why? Because I already had other things going on in real life that didn't force me to be desperate about whatever it took in order to get some visibility. And now I see a lot of y'all channels getting taken away. Y'all getting community guidelines of strike because you'll do anything for some clout, not knowing that in 2 weeks, we going to forget about everything that you did and you going to go back to being just a normal you because you got 5 minutes of clout. But everything is short term with the people that I see that look like me on a regular basis because they don't understand the long-term ramifications of the decisions that they make in a day. Everything. Look at your life. Look at your friends. Look at your mother. Look at your father. Look at your dwelling. Look at the place that you live in. Look at your content. Look at your kids. Look at your job. Everything is going to be aligned with the way in which you think and how it is that you live your life. And it's going to tell the story. It's going to tell us how you spend your time. When you put together your personal calendar, because I live and die by my calendar, It tells a story of what my life is and what a reflection of my life is supposed to be. How my wife is in her femininity and she chilling and she just milling around the house having a good time. How my daughter is in a great place and she's overtraining for her competition and she don't have the same mindset and the same worries about whether or not her stomach is going to be rumbling when she go to school or she go to train, or whether or not she's having difficulty at school or she having trauma or emotional issues that she gonna need therapy for, that she's then gonna take into a relationship because she's seen how her father treated her mother. Everybody is going to pay for the sins of their parents and their fathers if they don't get that. If they don't get that thing that happened to them in this lifetime, it's gonna happen in the lifetime of their children. All because we refuse to take ownership and responsibility and look at things from a long-term perspective. Could I have 100 houses right now? Yeah, if I had financed them. I'd rather have 17, 18 that's being number 18 that's being built right now and own 100% of it than own 5% equity, 10% equity, 20% equity, and 50 of them. And then I got to make sure that my tenants is paying their rent on time and all of that. No, I don't move like that. I don't raise the rents on my tenants. My tenants pay the same rent that they've had since they got into that place. And I do not raise the rents on my tenants because I'm more focused on adding value into their life and building a relationship that then generates the long-term care of my property. I don't even have to maintain my property. They do it because they appreciate how it is that we built a relationship. And that's how I treat my people. I treat the people that work for me the same way. We a partner. I treat the people that patronize me on the internet, or my people walk up to me, hey, I'm a good fan. I stop them right there. You ain't no fan. You a friend. You ain't no fan. You a friend. I'm walking and I got 2 legs and 2 arms just like you, big dog. I respect you as a man, and even saying something to me, I have to give you accolades and praise. I'm adding value into their life before they can ever even say anything to me at all. That's why I ain't never got nobody in real life that ever had no smoke for me, that ever recognized me on the internet. Don't nobody got smoke for me. They got love for me. Every single person in this entire journey that I've ever seen in real life ain't never had nothing but good words and good love for me. Not one person could ever say that they ran into me in person and they had some smoke for me. Not one. I don't have that type of energy around me. I don't have the rest people around me. I don't have people that think short term around me. I don't have people that vote based off of their immediate needs instead of their long-term views around me. I don't have a woman that is moving in duress and is worried about whether or not she gonna lose her relationship, or she got to make a decision on whether or not she can take me to child support court, because I made a decision that is going to be a lifetime decision, and that's the thing that I invest in. That's the thing I pour my time in. That's the thing that I put my effort in. I put my effort into my daughter. I put my effort into my people. I put my effort into my employees. I put my effort into you. Every single morning I jump on this live stream and I don't miss. I don't care if I'm in another country. I don't care if I'm in Detroit. I don't care if I'm in Vegas. I give you the same energy every single day because I truly care for and value what it is that I'm representing for you, which is then going to be a reflection of the community as a whole. If you want to save your community, if you want to talk about black people, if you want to do the thing if you want to be on code, then do the thing that is in your best interest. Be selfish before you selfless, because you can't help anybody until you help yourself. And make sure that you add as much value into your own household. Get the beam out of your own eye before you start holding somebody else accountable. And then we can start having a conversation about what it is that we're supposed to do as a collective, as a community. And until then, if your household is in shambles, if your finances is in shambles, if you're sitting here complaining about people that you don't have no control over, if you don't have a job that actually adds as much value into your life, if your business acumen is substandard and you're not a part of the Patreon, if you are sitting here complaining about a woman that had your kid but you don't have no control over how she raised them, then that is a reflection of you, nobody else. It's not my problem. It's not your mama's problem. It's not your friend's problem. It's not any of us on the internet's problem. It's your problem. And the minute that we take ownership and responsibility of where we are in this lifetime is the minute that we change our circumstances. But I already know that it's some people that's watching this right now, and it don't matter how many thousands of people is watching this. It's people that's watching this and restreaming this right now. You're going to hear this message, and it's going to fall on deaf ears. And I know that no matter how much information I give you, no matter how much insight I give you, no matter how much motivation I give you, it's not for the 99, it's for the 1. So for that one person who I was supposed to touch their heart and you hear this and you take this and you utilize this in order to become the best version of yourself, I got you. Tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Do the thing that's in your best interest. Every day become a better version of yourself, one step at a time, one subscriber at a time, one person at a time, $1 at a time. Make sure that you pay off one debt at a time. One impact every single day. You make an incremental step to be better than you was the day before, and you don't look backwards, you go forward and up. And I guarantee you, by the time that you look back on your life, but by the time that you decide that you want to look back at what it is that you came from, you're going to be so far ahead of everybody else that you ain't even got time to run in the Victim Olympics. And that's a fact. That's a fact. 99% of the people that's going to hear this is going to fall on deaf ears. And they're going to get motivated for the moment, and they're going to fall off tomorrow. But that 1%, that 1% of the people that hear it, they're going to change their lives. They're going to do things differently. They're going to start making decisions that then impact. And it ain't an immediate thing. Don't worry about doing everything today. Do a little bit today, a little bit tomorrow, and become a better version of yourself every single day. And as you make those incremental steps, it's going to turn into leaps and bounds. And that 1% is going to change their life. I'm not here for the 99. I'm here for the 1. I'm here for you. All right? I love you. I appreciate you. I pray for you every single morning before I come on this live stream for you to be impacted in a positive way through the entertainment in some way, shape, or form that's going to absolutely positively change your life and the people that surround you. All right? I love you. Let me read some of these super chats and then we're going to get up out of here. I love y'all. I genuinely love y'all. Seriously. Aaron says we're going to get that CNN cuss jar ready for you. Ronnie Robbins says, good morning. Ronnie Robinson says, good morning, Mr. Anton. Hope all is well. Did you get my email with the link about how that Biden is raising the cost for first-time home buyers with the credit? Yep, I just talked about it. I did get your email. Thank you, Ronnie. Ronnie, you're the inspiration for me actually having this conversation today. Elliot Jackson says, why doesn't someone start with BNN, Black News Network, specifically focused on Black community and on things that are actually positive? I think that would be a horrible idea. If we 13% of the population, why would you want to alienate the other 86.4% of the population? You don't want to alienate potential customers by then siloing yourself or removing the ability for other people to patronize your business just because you identify as something. I don't think that you should have a BNN. I think that would be we got a BET, and we don't even like that. We don't even like to be our rappers and our singers don't even like going to the BET Awards. You know what I'm saying? Ken J says, Anton, what tech stack do you prefer to work in? Well, it depends on how it is that you see a tech stack. So I'm traditionally trained as a software engineer, but I like front end, right? So you want to say JavaScript, HTML, CSS, PHP, React, especially when you're dealing with applications, because you want applications to be cross-platform. So, for example, when you develop one code base, you want it to be able to be expanded into Android, or you want to be expanded over into Apple, right? But right now, because I'm a manager or because I oversee a team, I still get my hands dirty, but the majority of what it is that I work in is Adobe Creative Suite or Adobe Creative Cloud specifically. So I live in Adobe XD and Photoshop. I live in Adobe XD and Photoshop. So that's a really good question. Shout out to Ken J. Victor Abote says, what is that supposed to be? Pigs are out for blood. It's looking slow for Democrats. I couldn't see the emoji. Service USA says Trump DeSantis 2024. You mean Mike Pence ain't gonna be the running mate? Aaron says they're gonna have Biden with shades like the weekend at Bernie's and his voice on ChatGPT to make sure he don't fall asleep during the debates. Man, that dude is old. I don't even know how y'all gonna vote for him. Purple Haze says battle for the souls of America. He told you, just like he said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Believe them when they tell you who they are. Shout out to Purple Haze. Juwan Hart says there needs to be a super age limit to run for office. If you got to be 35, you can't be older than 65. That's fair. Victor says passport bros will become mortgage bros eventually. David L says, Anton, when you going to tell the truth about you being Marv Wan's cousin? Y'all know who Marv Wan is? Marv Wan is actually a rapper He's a battle rapper in Detroit. So shout out to Marv One. I think that Marv One is a cool dude. Shout out to Marv One. Let's see. The most free country in 2023 with the most enslaved mind from an immigrant from Guatemala that didn't grow with running water and electricity. That's facts. That's 100% facts. Butterfly Effect said you shouldn't have to subsidize someone who didn't make sacrifices or hustle to get ahead and instead took the easy way out. Agreed. Brock says, amen, Pastor. Totally and wholeheartedly agree with everything you just said. Definitely need a choir soundbite in the background. Shout out to Brock, always supporting. Ian said, peace. Thank you, Ian, for supporting the platform and rocking out with me. Oh, that's an elephant? My bad. I couldn't see it. The emoji was so small for me over here on this spotty internet. Listen, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for continuing to rock with me. I love y'all. I think that y'all are the greatest audience on earth, and more importantly, I want to continue to add value into you. We do it every single morning, weekdays between 10:15 and 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Hopefully you found some value in this live stream like I try to do every day, make it entertaining for you, but put the medicine inside of the candy and add value into your lives. But I need y'all to do me one more favor before we get up out of here. Make sure you share this with your family and friends. We don't want to be rich by ourselves. I love you. I appreciate you. I think you guys are the greatest audience on the face of this earth. Thank you guys. Thank you for continuing to rock with me. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace.